And we're live. Happy Friday, everybody, and a special welcome to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Tim Lynch. Tim, welcome. How are you?
I'm great. I love taking over Karen's literal chair for this.
That's right. You know, she's going to be watching this on the plane going, "Ah, what is he
That's right.
doing?" Yeah. For those who don't know you and why, other than, Karen's husband, why don't you do a quick, which what else does anybody else need to know, right?
Well, and that's the full-time job, right?
Yeah.
And then the side hustle is, my arc has always been the intersection of technology and behavior. And so a lot of research and insights in the medical field, in the tech field, and now focusing on, how do we bring AI to change how people are behaving?
So that's the definition of change management at this point. Yeah.
Well, there's the do it with me and the do it to me change, and they're both going on at the same time.
Boy, the do it to me. We could take that lots of different places. I'm sure we will as the conversation progresses. And for the audience, we had promised that we would be focusing this week on the zero human company concept as a lens for some of this do it with me, do it for me, or do it to me model.
Right.
We'll get to that, but there's a bunch of other stuff that we wanted to touch on before we could dive into the news. Reminder, IEX North America is right around the corner. So you can use our discount code. So please do that. And then followed, we've got IEX Europe, and then we have IEX AI. So be there or be square. They are going to be exciting events, and the agendas are awesome, and the attendance is going to be awesome, and you literally cannot afford to miss these guys. I'm serious. The Insight Innovation Competition winners were just announced this morning, which we don't have that up here as a link, but you can see it on LinkedIn. And that's just an example of the type of disruption and transformation that we're seeing that you're going to see on stage. So, all right, plugs out of the way. So, Tim, you're here because Karen is at X4, and she gave us a little sneak peek of some of the announcements there. And it was all about synthetic panels for U.S. consumers. And they're saying half the cost with a 12x accuracy advantage over general purpose AI, plus a research hub. So and a conversational answer engine. So Qualtrics, big push on launching a whole suite of tools that are based on synthetic data, which we'll get to kind of the provenance of that in a minute. And then obviously letting all the data that clients have within their accounts be leveraged now in a new way, in some ways utterly unsurprising, which I mean, no shade of course Qualtrics is going to do those things.
Of course. I mean, what, 30, 50, 70 years we have been struggling to connect the dots. How do we connect the dots? How do we know, what was it, Tom Watson from IBM, if we only knew what we know, right? This is not a new problem, but this is a new solution to an old problem that we've always had.
100%, locking more utility and usability of data. And that kind of brings to, there were a couple things this week that I think were interesting on that side. Let's run through them real quick, and then let's frame this up with the bigger issue. The quantilope released their category twin synthetic consumers off of the client's own brand data. Samuel Cohen at Fairgen actually, we should talk about this first. The synthetic data has been this catch-all term. Samuel did a really interesting taxonomy on, let's separate these out based on the types and use cases. Really encourage everybody to read it. Samuel, if you're listening, thank you. It's a much needed way to think about this. And the way I viewed that was the use case as well as the source kind of defines that taxonomy. And as we see that too, go and step out, Claude, the MiroFish God View. Have you paid attention to MiroFish? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you explain MiroFish? Because it's a whole other take on the synthetic sample kind of idea.
Yeah, I mean, this is at its core, it's pattern recognition, right? It's pattern recognition to give us some confidence in a prediction that we're trying to make, and applying it to predictive markets. Okay, there's a lot of it's gambling here, right? Like,
Sure.
you're trying to predict the value of something else, and then you're literally placing a bet on that. So, that's a hard one, because it's very cool applications to see how accurate it is.
Yeah.
But again, you literally are gambling.
Sure. Yeah.
And fun to see where the tech is going. I don't know that I would be that risk tolerant when I bring it to my brand, because I want to place smart bets and kind of de-risk most things.
Yep. Yep. But for an early stage kind of hypothesis testing or
Right.
hovering, and what's interesting about this, if you haven't checked this out, MiroFish is not a research play per se, right? This is a broader play of agents that have their own memories, personalities, and behaviors. It's a swarm, right? The way I understand it, where these agents that mimic certain personalities and types are collaborating and working together to solve a problem, and to your point, make a prediction. Overall, where is that data coming from that's forming those? I think that was a little fuzzy on. My assumption is that it's open source, just everything that's available.
And markets.
Yeah.
It's open source and social and markets. And there was, I wish I could attribute the quote to it. Person's name just flew out of my head. But like, we humans, we are the weakest link. One of the groups that I'm in is talking about the weakness of humans. We now have agent swarms that can go off and do multi-agent work, multi-tasks for multi-days.
Yep.
So the question to ask the mirror is, are you ready to articulate what you need done with clarity so that can happen?
Yep.
And I did a test yesterday. I'm currently at 45 minutes. I can walk away for 45 minutes and have it doing things and come back and I'm good. There are people who have it where, their Clawbot or their OpenClaw is working for days. Yep. I'm nowhere near being able to articulate a need that well.
Yeah. Well, let's table that for thought for a minute. Because I think as we get into this other concept that we want to make sure we talk about, that's important for the audience to kind of understand the scale that is happening here and the implications as we think about business models. I want to drill back into the data piece here, because there was another thing that as soon as I saw it, was like, of course, that came out that Niantic, the Pokémon Go company, basically that generated 30 billion real world visual AI training scans. So all that data, it reminded me of back in the day, Zynga with Farmville, and they made the statement, we're not a game company, we're a data company. So the games are just how we get the data. And I think we have to recognize increasingly that this issue, especially if something is free, we are the product. And increasingly, that's not because they're trying to get us to buy stuff. They just want our data, because it powers things like, MiroFish or all the synthetic, or what Qualtrics and other companies are doing. And our friend Vivek Bhaskaran from Question Pro, I think you know Vivek from back in the day. And He glommed on, and I don't want to get into the Question Pro's competitor to Qualtrics. Right? Okay, fine. But he brought up a really good point and other folks were jumping on this bandwagon around data ownership, IP. There's both legal and kind of ethical concerns around this entire concept of, oh, we just have access to all this data and we're just going to make stuff off of that data, and you're going to pay us for the stuff we make off of the data. And in that, his specific piece was, well, wait, no, there's kind of a chain of custody or chain of ownership, probably a better way to say it, in this world that we are not really dealing with, and particularly in the world of research, and that comes that data provenance, right? Who owns the data? Our operating assumption in the industry has always been the end client owns the data. Whoever's paying to collect it,
right?
Owns it. So
right, it's a work product of what they're paying for.
That's right. And if you're using software to collect it, that the software does not have rights to that data, even though it may say so in the terms of service, right?
Right.
The owner does that. And I remember when Google surveys launched, and back in the day, and that was a big issue. Google was very clear out of the gate. We own this data. You have we're granting you a limited right. If you use our platform to collect this data, it's our data. You're just basically licensing it. And a lot of brands were like, well, I'm out. Yeah,
right.
No, we're not going to do that. And here we are again. And it's a bigger issue around everybody creating synthetic on who owns it. And and whether we're talking about Qualtrics or quantilope or MiroFish or Claude or OpenAI, this is a big issue, and I think it's going to get bigger. So I think it's going to come to a head more than we saw with the advent of GDPR or the California law. I think it has much bigger implications. What do you think? You're in the middle of this from kind of the tech infrastructure and change management standpoint. Is this a topic that brands are saying, wait a minute, we need to pay attention to who actually owns the rights to the data in this massively amorphous ecosystem?
Right. And for on the manufacturing side, it's a sensitive, hot topic, around particularly innovation in the manufacturing space, right? So I'm building something for an end client, they're paying for it, but I'm building the patents on this. I'm building the manufacturing process on this. So there's an entire category of this conversation that's separate but very related.
Sure.
That has to go on. With the Pokemon thing, it is there was a transaction in kind because I was battling to get more Pokemon. Right, so I wanted to catch them all. That was it.
Did you catch them all, Tim?
Oh, not even close. Not even close. But what they were finding and what Niantic did was a lot of the gyms were in public spaces.
Yep.
But a picture that was in public, and that's kind of like you don't have an expectation of privacy when you're in public. There's a whole First Amendment auditors that are out doing stuff like that to get YouTube videos. So, that is their data. It was my picture to prove that I was in public to catch a Pokemon. Our transaction's done. Now Niantic can go and do whatever they need to do. I don't own that photo anymore. Yeah.
Well, it's self-driving cars, right? As we move into that world, people underestimate thinking about so everything else around Elon Musk, right? But the idea of him building a massive training set of real world data, right? That's part and parcel to the operating of his products. I would agree. It's necessary, right? And I think we get that. The car needs to learn, it needs to see everything around it so it doesn't crash, and that's a virtuous cycle. That's a useful transaction, right?
I remember when Google was doing their little egg-shaped car. And they were talking about there was a conversation around the training data for it, and mapping and image processing. And the engineer from Google had put up a video of one of their car's interactions from Florida, where a car was going down a road and a woman in her nightgown with a broom ran out into the street because her dog was barking at an alligator. And so he was like, now we've got to process alligator, dog, woman, or we can just have a rule, don't hit things. It's much simpler to have a rule that is don't hit anything than it is to try and figure out woman, broom, alligator, dog.
Right. Is it okay to hit the alligator? Right.
No.
Yeah. Right.
That's an expensive repair.
Yeah.
You do get a belt and shoes out of it, though. So
a Florida man, they're all over that. But it's just, I guess we step back, look at the macro level. What I was thinking reading this is that the dimensions of disruption seem to just be increasing overall. There's a domino effect here. It's across the board. These are not isolated things. These are systemic challenges that as we race to use the benefits of synthetic sample, for instance, right? Regardless of modeling behavior and personas in all of its different use cases, whether it's research or not, obviously there's material benefits in doing that. And from a cost and speed perspective and, competitive advantage, blah, 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 right? But, we do not have well-defined guardrails on a lot of this stuff, and we're going to have to just keep trying to figure it out. And my personal opinion is, as from an industry standpoint, I would rather us figure it out than to be forced upon us from a regulatory standpoint. And, so somebody's got to lead the charge and kind of thinking through that. And to your point around the manufacturing, is there similar? I hear that there's similar angst about it. Are there efforts that you see happening in other categories or other verticals of kind of grappling? Okay, wait, we need to come together and come up with some guardrails.
And that's hard.
Yes,
that's hard. It is. So I have a lot of manufacturing clients. I have a lot of federal agencies and large manufacturers. The commonality for all of them is it is hard to bring in a cross-functional team that has the time and space to process this.
Sure.
It's really a resource allocation problem. And we're not going to spend the next hour talking about data quality, but it is a data quality problem. Like,
sure.
Within all of us lies the data hoarder of the folder on my desktop that has all of my stuff.
Yep.
And in an AI world, it's got to learn what is relevant data and irrelevant data.
Yeah.
And the more irrelevant data it has to sort through, the less the quality will be.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I got a free trial to Perplexity Computer this week. So, and oh my God, right?
That goes with your OpenClaw. That goes with your.
Yeah, I'm not willing to go there, but with OpenClaw, yeah. But first I was okay. Do you want to link to all these things? Like, no. I'm not giving you access to my email, to my hard drive, to my file structure. I'm not doing that. However, okay, there's specific things I want to achieve. So I'm creating folders in Google Drive and moving things that are aligned to very specific things. Like, okay, so I'm going to give you access to this folder in Drive.
Let's see what you do.
Right. There's grit data. Like, all right, here's the past 15 years of grit data, baby. So whatever. But it is the same issue. I'm not willing personally to give access to Microsoft is bad enough. Right. So all of my data, all of my personal information, because my hard drive is a mismatch of personal and business, and tax returns, it's all there. Yeah, it's like I'm not willing to do that. but I'm willing to do this very specifically because I'm going to get value out of it, or at least theoretically I will. But how do you do that, have that mindset when we're thinking about kind of commercial applications of third parties? And, it
is very hard for client teams.
Yes.
There is that traditional dynamic, right? Forming, storming, norming, performing, that goes on. Add in this pseudo AI layer of a tool that is a computer, but a person, but a robot, but a person. So they're a member of this team. How much data are we going to give it? When do we trust it? Do I get value ROI? Like, is the relationship worth continuing in some form? And then you have, people from the marketing side of the house, the ops side of the house, governance side of the house, contract side of the house, sales side of the house. And there's always somebody in the outside going, did you get ROI yet?
Yep.
Like, okay, we're going to see that in March, right? And it's like, we're still trying to get these 6 people to speak the same language.
Right. Yes. Right. The priorities. I understand exactly. I'm working the client.
I've been in finance meetings where they're like, okay, well, we're going to bring these 3 people in for a focus group, and you can see the insights team like cringe, and it's like, what's that from The Princess Bride? You keep using that word. I do not think you know what it
means. Yeah. Interesting times. You mentioned applications. There were a bunch of new product launches. Let's run.
Yeah.
I'm going to run through a couple of them, then we're going to stop with a few that I think are interesting. But some of these are just kind of shout outs. More of the same we've been talking about. So listeners, this is the pace of change. Content Square, they're launched a new agent to track customer journeys inside AI assistants. And so ChatGPT apps, web, mobile, not just digital properties. Hugely important. Waiting to see something like that on, okay, we need to now understand what our AI agents are doing, particularly from a purchase standpoint, but not only browsing, et cetera, et cetera. So there's this whole other category of businesses being set up around that. I think that's really, really interesting, and we trying to figure out where that goes. Did you see the Google Stitch, the Vibe design platform?
Yes. Well, it's been out for over a year, but it's newly empowered and new features.
It's pretty damn cool.
Right.
Yeah, it's a design platform, guys.
Yeah, and if you're in the Google ecosystem, and this is, a lot of people live in houses, right? Some people live in Google houses, some people live in Amazon houses, some people live in Microsoft houses. They all have these tools of rapid prototyping, vibe coding, something from your brain to your mouth to a screen.
Yeah. Did you see your wife just commenting? I'm in a cab heading to the airport, so checked up on you two. Don't mess up my desk, Mr. Lynch. Just to make sure that they sees that. I think I live on like I live in a compound trailer park, right? So it's like all types of different things. But yes, and all these solutions coming out. It's obviously Google is trying to own the workflow, particularly from a creative standpoint, which makes sense since advertising is the core of their business.
And they have so add in Stitch to Pomeli, which is another one of their tools, which can then do content creation.
Yeah.
So you're nudging the AI to then create you several creative banners, posts, Okay.
Yeah. And it's leveling the playing field. So small businesses have access to the same tools as, a Fortune 500 brand without the need to hire an agency. Sorry, agencies. I still look at that as process is not the value creator. So concept and execution of the concept, that's the value. But the process, yeah, we just don't own it anymore.
Well, there is such a need because AI without the artist is slop, right?
Right.
So and we've seen that we've got AI slop everywhere,
Right.
and things like Stitch and Pomeli and Lovable and all of these other vibe things. There's an artistry there of where you do need your agency, because I can create a graphic, but I don't have a background in graphic design to understand white space and subject and shading and color. And so somebody who does and can articulate why those things matter just has a better prompt.
Yeah. Judgment and orchestration. More and more. That's I think that's the human element. A couple more things I wanted to get to real quick. NIQ, there's in here twice this week. Their AI-powered analytical Ask Arthur conversational analytics product. Just there you go. And I'm sure that's based in the NIQ cloud. So synthesis, same thing we started out talking about. Qualtrics, Basis Global and Answer Rocket, AI enhanced brand tracking. So that's interesting. The Answer Rocket is doing, because their Answer Rocket was fundamentally a data management platform, and partnering up. Video mining, launching their Behavior Scout driven AI-driven in-store behavioral analytics for shopper research. Now that's interesting because video mining, as the name would say, they've set up video cameras all across things like Kroger and CVS and, in the grocery categories. And they've been doing that for years. And now, now they're using AI to make that more than just observational, but actually, actionable and even interactive in a way. So that was really cool. But the one thing that really popped out was that Nielsen discontinuing their ad monitoring and radio monitoring in 137 markets. Boy, what signal do we need to understand that the world of marketing and advertising has changed when Nielsen says, we're not going to worry about your radio in these markets anymore. They're not particularly relevant. What was your take on that? That was really like a whoa shit, really kind of moment for me reading that.
And I know where the younger generation is moving to, but the older generation is still around.
Although I don't watch much TV, man. So
so they but do they need those signals there, or since we're all now logged in the TV, they can all get it from our logins of the apps that we're in?
The streaming, right. Yeah. And I think I was making a point somewhere earlier this week of the what if we're trying to understand the kind of engage, understand, activate cycle, and then monitor the activation component. It's a whole new ecosystem of ad placement now. Content creators, sponsorships, the in the apps, social media apps, et cetera, that don't have anything to do with traditional ad delivery systems. We built this architecture, of programmatic ad delivery, and that's still relevant, but there's not programmatic ad delivery on Substack, right? YouTube has its own system, in addition to the sponsorship that people have their own sponsors and do all that. It's like, so monitoring all of that is just a very different game now.
And how long will it be before that YouTube programmatic power is brought to bear on Gemini?
100%. Oh yeah. Yes. I'm sure you saw the OpenAI with the ads, and all and of course they're going to do that. And of course,
for the free tier, if you're not going to give them money, they've got to get money somewhere.
Absolutely. And it's going to be training data 100%. How do you click through it? Perplexity was very clear out of the gate that, we're going to put ads because we're going to use it to train. So, the other like, oh, the world's changed. And that was Meta shutting down the metaverse. After what, $1 bajillion? I mean, literally, not a
Are they going
bajillion.
to change their name again then? Because didn't they rename themselves to Meta because of that whole effort?
Yes, Bryce. Yes. And it really was like hundreds of billions of dollars spent on that. So my take was, I still think we'll get there. Compute, bandwidth, all of those issues were the real limiting factor. Plus, so if they had launched the metaverse with AI driven hyper realistic graphics, I think that would have been a different thing, right? Then we're in Ready Player One world. But instead it was like, mid 2000s avatar graphics, which were not, it's like Minecraft. It's just,
and the market has to be ready for it. People have to be ready to interact that way.
Yeah, right. And we've seen, God, what was the shit? There was another virtual world. Sorry.
Second Life?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Second, yes.
Right.
None of those things have stuck yet. None of them have stuck yet.
They stick for pockets. Like, sure. I mean, Second Life is still around because there's a pocket of people who still use it.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe so it haven't hit scale. So
right.
Yeah. But it is interesting too, if this were Meta to put all that money into that, and I'm sure that's not going to go to waste. There will be, there's aspects of that, particularly data, that they'll use, but now pivoting everything's around Llama. So in the AI,
right?
Yeah, interesting stuff.
But 5-10 years from now, we may be having the Pokemon conversation all over again, because that base, that corpus of tech and data, now is not the right time.
Yep. So a couple more, the Kantar plus Quilt partnership, including a non-equity financial commitment to co-develop joint offers. So that's interesting. Evaluate, explore a new innovation tool. Now, I know the Quilt team quite well. Friends with Anurag, the CEO. It's an incredibly impressive business that they've built. And for Kantar to come to them and say, can we partner? And I'm sure that's how that went. I don't think it was the other way around. Right. I think Kantar courted Quilt. Also shows the clear path. Obviously, Kantar realized they couldn't acquire them. They couldn't pay the valuation.
Right.
They couldn't build it because they don't have the chops for building. So partnering, so Kantar could leverage their
we come together, we do something together.
Yeah. Are you seeing?
We put skin in the game, but not like, you're not taking a piece of my equity. We're both like,
right. Are you seeing more of that playing out in these, more of the partnership approach? Playing out overall too.
Yeah, a lot of partners, which has a weird dance to it, right? Because there's what happens when a better dance partner comes along in 6 months?
Yeah. Yes.
So there's a little bit of that, and so we're going to be in this weird phase of that. Now, on the manufacturing and engineering side, there's far less. There's far more like, we are locked in. There are exclusive agreements for a lot of things.
Sure. Well, there's so much sunk costs, right? Okay. Right. Yeah, we're going to put your tech into our plants, and yeah. It's just interesting. Let's run through a couple more of these real quick. The Phoebe, previous Insight Innovation Competition winner, they expanded their conversational AI with emotion intelligence that's embedded in the surveys and interviews. So that's all voice. So cool to see that we're seeing that incorporation of voice tech into the traditional research ecosystem, driven by AI. So hats off to them. And then this last one, and we'll get into a little more around the zero human stuff. DoorDash's Dasher tasks. They're calling it the physical intelligence frontier. And so back to what we were talking about before, but what was particularly interesting is that agents would be a buyer on this. So agents getting humans through DoorDash to perform tasks, which was just it's kind of like a WTF moment.
You know? I mean, if their credit card works.
That's right. So I don't know, what was your take on that? Of just, it's very smart for DoorDash. Like, we have people who want to monetize their time,
and there's
they expand that out.
Yeah, and we saw this 6 months plus ago. There's a company, Blue something, out in California. Basically, they have a warehouse. They have a cool, chilled warehouse of GPUs.
Okay,
very cool. And they rent out GPUs. So Lenny wants to train Lenny's model. You can contract with them and use a cluster and do your thing.
Yeah.
And they had a agentic moment where all of a sudden they tripled revenue in a month.
Wow.
And then when they dug in, because like clearly our salespeople are doing great, they realized it was non-humans that were buying it, coming in, renting the GPUs, conducting it, and then getting out and leaving payments.
Wow.
So they have this whole, it's a fun case study on how do you position and brand and market and sell yourself to non-humans now, because non-humans are now a viable market. These things are coming. At the end of the line, somebody's holding a checkbook.
Yep. Absolutely. It's the creativity of the capitalist system, right?
Right. And it's really smart with DoorDash because they have so many dashers that are all connected, that they have geolocation of able humans ready to do things for them.
100%. Yes. And we should point out, it's not just age. That's a piece of it. They're also doing store audits and taking pictures, AI training sets, right? So expanding into what humans can do with their time and resources to generate additional revenue.
Right.
I didn't see it expressly put in there, but I am damn sure that research will be a piece of that. So particularly kind of in-store audits and ethnography and things like that. But even then, it's the agent maybe executing it, not the human. So
right.
All right, and that brings to the big topic, and when we cost of our time, because you and I can go on for a long time. But
I was going to say that that brings us into the third half of the hour.
I know that. So, a really interesting article on the marginal cost of entrepreneurship is trending towards zero, and another interesting article around paperclip, which is fully automated, basically business by agents, right? The operating system for business driven by agents. Combine that with our previous piece we touched on. If I have an idea, whether it's a creative or a technical piece, and the infrastructure is there, the systems are there for a person simply to come up with a good idea, and without needing to have humans, to have systems that do all the work of humans to bring something to market. And my personal prediction is that we are going to see more millionaires minted over the course of the next 2 years from entrepreneurs that simply have come up with a cool utility or cool idea. It may not be hyper scalable, but they get 100 users paying $100 a month, and or whatever the case may be. And we're just going to see an explosion of entrepreneurs doing that with virtually no costs other than compute. So what do you think about that?
And the news is interesting because we're talking about we're taking an economic model of a business where I have staff and resources in a traditional mental model, and saying, well, I can run this now on my Claude bot or OpenClaw. But that's not a zero cost. That's actually a growing cost. So there's going to be, it's less of a cost now because we've got these platforms competing, but at some point they're going to turn up the revenue dials, and those costs are going to go up. But it's an interesting dynamic of what can be possible to test in the real world market. 100%. Is there a market for this? Do some, I was going to say somebody, but does something want the value that I can create?
And what does that look like? So I've paid attention to a few of these folks, the owners, right? They've started these, and one, they're working like dogs, right? I mean, so just orchestrating and managing the agents, right? So yes, they're all the heavy lift, but the management, the judgment and orchestration component is still extensive, to your point. And at the point they've had investors come and they're like, I don't need investment dollars, right? The investment dollars don't necessarily drive hyperscale because I just have to add a new agent kind of thing, right, onto it. So the economics at all levels are changing across the board. So,
well, you have, token and compute costs. So the more the investors have an arm in there or a leverage where they're bringing more than money to the table, right? Investor A brings X number of dollars, investor B brings Y number of dollars, but Z number of compute and token. That changes the equations,
which we see that happening at the macro level, right? We see this it strikes almost as money laundering, right? To an extent of, NVIDIA is giving OpenAI $1 billion, and OpenAI is giving NVIDIA $1 billion back, and
that's right.
But I think
Steve Martin used to have a funny thing about starting your own bank. And he was like, you have to have the right name. You can't just call it Fred's Bank. I'll put it here in my, white suit, right-hand pocket. Like that whole passing money and round of investments is just.
Right. But now if you look at it, so here's my, it's like the App Store. The App Store was fundamentally a distribution layer. So, and it's great if you need to be in the App Store to be able to distribute your app. And then you had marketing and blah blah blah. I have not seen yet, maybe you have, NVIDIA, OpenAI, Claude, whatever, right? Or Anthropic, or Google say, to your point, here's access to tools, create something. In return, we're going to take an equity position in your company. You're going to give us something to give you these tools, but we're going to give you what you need to scale the hell out of it. And effectively be owning a marketplace of MCPs or agents or, whatever, for these individual solo entrepreneurs to rapidly scale and build the businesses overall. Have you seen something like that I've just missed?
Google does.
Google does.
So if you are a startup, if you are, I forget the term, you must be under 2 years old. You have to be under a certain head count. I think it's under 10. There's $250,000 of Google platform credits.
Okay.
Your compute, your Gemini access, build and scale.
Do they take equity though? Do they treat it?
I don't think they take an equity stake. It's what they want is build it in our build it in our world.
Okay. All right. So it's I have not seen a zero human company enter the research space yet. But by God, I've got some ideas. So, what odds do you lay on a year from now? So we do this again. How many zero human companies we may have seen enter the space? What do you think?
I would over under. I would think over 100.
That's my gut as well.
I would think over 100. We're getting to the place where the open claw, right? Claude bot to open claw to Claude co-work to Google's workspace to Microsoft's open workspace. Like they all have that multi-agent ability.
Right.
And remember what we talked about earlier about having like the artistry of the expert.
Yep.
And you may have been a qual researcher, a quant researcher, an ethnographer. You've got these skills, these technical things are going on and you've been using them, but there's a technical level that they were not at.
Right.
Now they're there.
Yep.
And when your artistry and that technology come together, there's a differentiator, right? Somebody who has 30 years of financial product research and insights with that technology is a unique thing that everybody else's AI can't have.
Yep. Well, we shall see. It's interesting, and maybe we should talk offline about what's the Lenny bot and the Tim bot look like, right? What do we
right? Well, and there's Dan Shipper who leads the team over at Every. He had built a proof app, and the problem was he's Dan Shipper, so we all swarmed his app. Crashed his app, which he vibe coded the app, but then couldn't vibe code to scale it fast enough.
Yeah.
We're going to have more and more of those stories too, just because as these things get stress tested at scale, as they start layering and leveling up, there's different dynamics that come into play. Yep.
All right. If Karen's listening, she's saying, okay, you guys, you're at 47 minutes. But there's a couple reading list things. Let's run through these real quick. I know there's one you and I agree on that we really need to call out. So I'll stop on that one. Well, there actually were two. Cool report, a study from Fortune about Google AI overviews are 44% more likely to surface negative brand content than ChatGPT. Last week, we had a different story that said ChatGPT was more likely. So I think my takeaway on that was that AI search and AI reviews, whether it's Google, OpenAI, or whatever, you can't depend that it's going to be a good thing, right? And brands better start paying attention to that.
Yeah, brands can have a bad day. Any day can be a bad day for your brand. That's the study from Bright Edge. It was released in Fortune, but Fortune didn't conduct the study. Bright Edge did it for their brand tracking. And it's interesting. When it went over to Fortune, it was like 40% more. And when you read the study, it's like one of them is 2.1 and one of them is 1.8%. And it's like, okay, gotcha. Okay. So you went to percentages because,
Yeah. All right.
But the nuance of that report is really interesting for why it skews.
Yeah.
And one of them is based on news and one of them is based on product reviews.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're trying to manage your brand, I got to fight two fights.
Right. It is not just your brand perception from your marketing. It is the experiential component from your users. And now that is not isolated to one little review site. It's included.
It gets codified and now.
Yeah. I thought it was also this important. Well, there's another one it was the same thing. We duplicated the article. Sorry, I'm looking at my brief and we had it on it twice. Yep. Okay. This other one from OpenAI Frontier around SaaS licensing combined with the SaaStr article. So two articles here Carly. The SaaS one I want to choose focus on though. Anthropic and OpenAI now capture 40 to 50 billion in annual enterprise spend. AI budgets are growing 81%, while overall IT grows just 3.4%, meaning up to 70% of the software slowdown is budget flowing to foundation models. So the shift from SaaS to AI. And that's the first time I had seen that number quantified. I think we all kind of suspected, but hadn't seen that way. What you live in this world. Is that your experience?
And we have the ramp data, ramp cards, which a lot of, not really the large enterprises, but a lot of medium and smaller businesses use the ramp cards. They publish their data on what they're seeing AI spend, people basically expensing their tokens. So we knew it was going to be big. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, said, now his salaries for his employees are a different scale than the rest of us.
That's right.
But he said, if I pay an engineer $500,000 a year and they are not at minimum burning $250,000 a year in tokens, we're going to have a conversation. So it was said, on the conference in passing, but I had a, wait a second, you have an expectation that 50% of your employees' salary is spent in AI usage. Anybody else ready for that kind of
right
expense?
Right.
Like, my finance department would be freaking out.
Yeah. That's a good point around scale, but the transformation thinking, I just don't know how many conversations I've had with SaaS companies in our space. And it's like a lot of the winds have changed, right? We got to think about this model differently now. So, and I think that's just one of the examples of that. So,
right, the orchestration.
That's right. And speaking of orchestration, there was one other article, Magnolia Maids, the creative brief is the last human artifact. And I thought this was really interesting on, again, orchestration, human judgment. We talked about today the artist, of putting things in context, while the execution layer, that's increasingly, we just don't own it. And all of this, I think that's the theme running throughout all of this today's session, is we don't own process, so we own orchestration of process and creativity, but that the ship has sailed. Is that your take as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, for some, right, and that's the hard part is, when we're all out in this AI world, it's really for some. It's not for everybody.
Sure.
But it seems to be everywhere. And so between our synthetic, we have our pick any of the links that I'm sure Carly has already shared today on synthetic sample and who's got synthetic and building your lookalikes. Like, you can do that now. Now we can test, so we can create samples and test.
Yeah.
Cool. What goes live? What goes live to these crazy humans?
Right. And what's sellable, what generates revenue. So,
right.
All right. So, Tim, I had a feeling we were going to set the new record. You can tell Karen that. We set a new record. It's probably, maybe it's not one that we should have done, but audience, hope that you appreciate the different perspective we wanted Tim in. One, because he's family, but two, he's at this outer edge at kind of the macro level of helping organizations change and adopt and seeing these all of these things shift. And I hope that was a valuable perspective for everybody. We will definitely have you back at some other point, Tim. Thank you.
Cool.
Anything else you want to add before we drop?
No, this has been great. It's a lot harder being on this side. Usually I'm on the other side where I don't have to read 40 different articles. I'm like, have my coffee and let you guys handle everything. Yeah,
and that was the curated list. That was cut down. Right. So, all right. Have a great weekend, audience.
You
Have a
too.
great weekend. Thank you for sticking with us on this epic edition of the Exchange. We will be back again next week with well, it'll still be epic, but maybe not quite as long. Or who the hell knows, right? Who knows what happens in the next week from a news standpoint? But everyone, take care. Be well. We'll talk soon. Bye.